What's up everybody? Landon with Late Model Restoration. Welcome to my overview and install on SVE's bump steer kit designed for the 1979 to 1993 Fox body Mustangs. If you plan on lowering or you've already lowered your 79 to 93 Fox Mustang, then you should consider this bump steer kit from industry leader SVE. This kit is designed to properly correct suspension geometry and eliminate bump steer on your lowered Fox Mustang. Every car has bump steer. However, when you lower your Mustang, you increase the amount of bump steer that occurs because of the changes in tow. Undesirable bump steer is easily noticed whenever you go over bumps because the suspension is steering itself instead of the driver. This SVE bump steer kit replaces the factory outer tie rod and incorporates heavy-duty spherical rod ends for superior performance. Adjustability is extremely easy because of the included spacers, which are there to help properly dial in your suspension. The tapered rod end is engineered to exact specification of the spindle, so no drilling or modification is required when installing this kit. Fitment-wise, this kit is designed to work with 1979 to 1993 Fox Mustangs equipped with a power rack. For those of you that have converted to an SN95 spindle, this SVE bump steer kit will work with your application as well without modification. Installation of this SVE bump steer is very easy and can be completed with a few common hand tools. For starters, go ahead and support the car via a lift or jack stands. Go ahead and remove the front wheels. Locate the outer tie rod to spindle retaining nut. Remove the cotter pin. Loosen the nut with a 19mm deep socket. In order to separate the tie rod from the spindle, use a joint separating tool or strike the side of the spindle with a hammer. Go ahead and repeat these steps for the other side. Take this time to measure the distance from the back of the outer tie rod to the center point on the joint. Now go ahead and measure the same distance on the SVE bump steer collar and the rod end. In our case, the SVE collar and rod end is a 1/4 inch longer than the factory outer tie rod. This means I'll have to rotate the jam nut a 1/4 inch back or toward the rack to make up for the change in length. By doing this, we can closely replicate the toe angle to the factory specifications. Use a series of crescent wrenches to loosen the jam nut. Position one wrench on the nut and the other wrench on the flat located on the outer tie rod. Break the jam nut loose just enough to turn the outer tie rod. Now turn the tie rod counterclockwise to remove it from the inner tie rod. Use a tape measure or caliper to accurately change the location of the jam nut to the specified length from the previous measurements. Like stated previously, the SVE setup is a 1/4 inch longer, so that means I had to turn the jam nut a 1/4 inch in toward the steering rack in order to make up the difference. Thread the SVE collar onto the inner tie rod until it reaches the jam nut. Use your crescent wrenches to tighten the jam nut. Install the tapered end of the provided stud up through the spindle. Loosely thread the provided nut and then torque to 40 foot-pounds. Slide the rod end over the stud. Use the provided spacers to properly position the rod end on the stud. You can position these any way you want, but you'll want to get this as close to parallel as you can with the lower control arm. Further adjustments will be made by the alignment shop. Once you have the collar and inner tie rod close to parallel with the control arm, install any of the remaining spacers underneath the rod end. Loosely thread the provided lower nut and torque that to 50 foot-pounds. Go ahead and repeat these steps for the other side. Go for a test drive. Be sure and get the car to your local alignment shop and you're all finished. Wrapping things up here, I would recommend setting aside about 2 hours from start to finish to get this bump steer kit installed into your Fox. Of course, once you complete the install, be sure and get the car down to your local alignment shop so they can work their magic to get the car properly aligned. To see more great products from industry leader SVE, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Be sure and pick up this SVE bump steer kit for your 1979 to 1993 Fox Mustang equipped with a power rack from the real Fox Mustang enthusiasts, LMR.com.